Russell Westbrook has faced his share of blame for the Lakers' struggles this season. They're 1-5 since the All-Star break, and last night they lost to the Spurs 117-110. And after the game, Westbrook addressed a series of tweets posted by his wife, Nina, which detailed the criticism and even death wishes that the family has received from fans this season. Take a listen.
When it comes to basketball, I don't mind the criticism of missing and making shots, but the moment it becomes where you know, my name is getting shamed, it becomes a issue. I can no longer allow people, you know, for example, Westbrook to me is now shaming, like it's shaming my name, it's my legacy for my kids. It's a name that means more, not just to me, but to my wife, to my mom, my dad. A lot of times, you know, I let it slide, but it's now trying to put a stop to that and put it on notice. You know, my family don't even want to go to home games, to any game, because of, you know, not just the media across the globe use their platforms to constantly shame me. And, you know, it's just super unfortunate, man. You know, and it's super upsetting to me, and I'm at a point, you know, to where I'm going to continue to address it. It's just unfortunate.
I do want to point out that his necklace there, those initials, are the initials of his wife and his children, his twins and his son. All right, we now welcome back senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. So, Woj, what are you hearing about how Westbrook is handling this behind the scenes?
Well, listen, it's one thing to come to L.A. and play for the Lakers with the stature of Russell Westbrook, the significance of that trade, and there's pressure that comes with that. There's going to be criticism that comes with the Lakers when you don't play well. But what's, I think, different for Westbrook is that he's from here. He grew up here. He played his college basketball here. He met his wife here. This is where he wants to raise his family. And he's had an immense impact on the communities that he grew up in. You know, he stayed very connected at UCLA. And I think more than just coming to L.A. to try to win a championship, it was to really be a part of this place again. And I think that's part of beyond the basketball criticism and how the team's done. And I think when he sees how that's impacted his family, you know, he's very close with his parents, and they still live here. And I think seeing how it's impacting them, and you saw the emotion of it last night. And I think as a player, you know you sign up for that. You know that you're in the public arena, and when you don't play well, and you don't play well for the Lakers, the team's not winning, there's criticism that comes with that. But I think it's exponential because of his ties here, his history, and the impact he's had as a member of this community in L.A. Right.
I remember talking to Russell Westbrook earlier in the season and asking him about maybe something that he didn't foresee when he came to L.A. And he chose to say, I think people forget that this is the first time I get to take my kids to school every day, those sorts of things. That's something that he didn't necessarily think he was going to get to do and didn't realize the gravity of until he arrived in L.A. But I want to dive into the heart of Westbrook's comments last night about the harassment his family is experiencing. Because to start, Kendrick, just your reaction to what he said.
You know what? I said this, and we were on here maybe about a month ago, and I said that Russell Westbrook is broken. And I'm not talking about his jump shot. Yes, we can go down the line and say how he should play better, but I could see it. I could see it in his body language. And now we finally are realizing that Russell Westbrook is human. And if you watch this film right here, look, he's not even involved. Like, mentally, he's not even there. He didn't even move that entire possession at all. And so now, you know, when you feel sorry for him at one aspect because you don't never want to see, like, you know, his family get attacked. But then on the other side of it, you also have to play a role of actually keeping your family in check. And so I'll give you an example for us with my wife. She knew when I was playing, I got a lot of criticism, especially when I went to Oklahoma City. I told her, stay away from that. Don't respond to nobody in the social media. I can handle it. This is what I signed up for. So it's to the point now, and this is not a hot take. This is just being real. It's to the point where I'm almost to the point where I think it's almost best for Russ just not to play the rest of this season because he's not there. When you hear a guy that you grew up watching in Magic Johnson criticize you the way that Magic did the other night and saying how that if this don't happen, it would be the worst trade and Russell Westbrook hasn't done this, that hurts a little differently. So right now, I understand Russ, and I understand him protecting his family, but I also understand that, hey, you're getting paid $40+ million. It's a certain level of expectations that you got to, that's been held for you that you got to be able to, live up to.
But I think it's a fine line, right? Because I know Russell Westbrook, he mentioned the media criticism specifically. He also mentioned fan criticism. And again, the sign up for part, right? That when you play poorly, there is some level of analysis or digging into the game or critiquing the game that I think is warranted and expected. But what people don't expect is the mean part necessarily and the level of which people are that way, especially now with social media, with it being constant, with it being all the time. Because I think when you're not looking at someone in their face and having a conversation with them, you don't say the same things as you would behind a screen or when you're yelling into an abyss of an arena. But Richard, how did you sort of shoulder that?
But
go ahead.
Malika, to your point, I understand that, right? I get death threats right now because of an NBA 2K game. Like, people talk about my play.
I've actually heard this.
Like, real talk. So I understand.
What?
Yes, I understand. I get death threats about, hey, if you talk about my player again, it's gonna be me and
They know
you.
that's pre-recorded, right?
Right. So,
2K.
but on the other hand of it, Malika, Russell Westbrook has not been nice to the media either throughout his career.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.